When I was young and fragile, and my voice was like a sigh muffled between porcelain pillows, I found my first love. My eyes were as lacking in hope as they were in melanin, as I surveyed a future that stretched out before me in the same way a desert might to a thirsty traveler, vast and impenetrable, and laden with the knowledge that my thirst would not soon be quenched. As a child searching for something to believe in beyond what the trivialities of naivety allowed me, I was trekking blindly into a dust storm with my arms outstretched, and only my hands to reach out at destiny in hopes of grabbing something. But where my palms vied for meaning, my feet first found water. My water was writing. They say that the art of writing is the art of discovering what you believe, and so in the same way that water nourishes the body, writing nourished my soul and taught me that the most important thing I could ever believe in was myself. I quickly found that I hated writing about the real world, and especially myself, as I had been enamored with the notion that writing, like reading, was meant to suppress the pervading element of absurd chaos within reality. What I did find to be true, in fact, was that writing simply mirrored reality under a facade of the imaginary, like a flower that blooms in a different color than its bud, and likewise, my characters, though I had never met them and would never meet them, were already familiar to me. They were simply reimagined versions of myself into an ideal world, where the continuity of my imperfections grew less opaque and my ineptitudes more salient. It felt like seeing my own shadow through a screen door and not quite believing its outline to be my own. I discovered a most constricting flaw, that I had little belief that my flaws were surmountable, even in writing. It was a discovery that soon blossomed into a defining characteristic of myself and impeded much of my life outside of writing as well. No matter what I did, I couldn't escape myself. Still, I enjoyed writing. For school, for projects, for myself. I seldom wrote when I didn't have to, and yet I wrote like my life depended on it. In some ways it did. Essentially, I wrote to validate myself in the same way I'd once wrote to escape myself, with little long-term practicality and immense optimism. Still having found little to believe in, I put an unquantifiable amount of faith in this formulaic. This was simply how things were in the flawed corollary of a child, but for a long time my beliefs stagnated at this point and taught me one of the most debilitating things you could ever teach a person, to attach their worth to something deviant from themselves. My passion for writing grew blatant and yet suppressed, like a muted bird. I had a song, I had notes, but I had no voice. I had composed a symphony without a choir, without a band, without a single instrument, and so I stood awkwardly with music in my hands but not in my mouth and hoped that someone might take it from me and make it sound more beautiful in the way that only confidence could. Without it, my words were not like a melodic cadence, but a raging cacophony that tore at my insides with jagged notes and sharp chords. In an instance where I found that I could not believe in escape nor validation, I found that I could in fact believe in my voice. A voice that was not jagged notes and muffled whispers, a voice that was not defined by the words it spoke, but rather the mouth it came from. I found that my voice was my own. Where life had once felt like being submerged into an ocean, I finally opened my eyes, no longer afraid of the salt that may penetrate them, but instead intrigued by the blue expanse below that seemed to hold both the sky and itself at once. In doing so, I once again remembered that while water drowns, it also nourishes, and where I had once been smothered by waves of words, my divergence from the antiquated notions of worth I'd once possessed carried me to shore again. I found that unkept by them, life was far more open to me than it ever could have been before. Believing in myself gave me new opportunities and new life. It was then when I hit shore and came to my senses that I stumbled across a girl. She was young and fragile, and when she spoke, her words had every quality of evanescence, dissipating like a whispered song into memory as quickly as they came. In that quiet voice of hers, she told me that she was a writer too, and I looked upon her eyes a mosaic of greens and blues that reflected the hues of stars in early twilight, and grappled with an inundating sense of deja vu as I tried and failed to escape the pervading feeling of familiarity that eclipsed my being. I remembered her, it seemed, the way a garden remembers rain, the way a mirror remembers a face, as she stood as a shadow whose outline I could finally bear to recognize as my own. It was a sensation broken only by the murmur that escaped her lips as she looked at me and asked quietly but boldly, "What do you believe in?" It was then I knew, as it enveloped me like dawn stretching over the night sky in an instance when dark melts to light, exactly what to say to her. After many years of waiting for an answer, trekking blindly across the desert with my arms outstretched, the words trembled from my lips like the answer to a prayer as I said at last, "I believe in you." This I believe, that the most important thing that you could ever believe in is yourself.